Hey, I'm Mindy. This is the Daily Rage. Absolutely stellar day today on the NASDAQ futures. We're looking at a 5 minute time frame over here on the left. This is the daily over on the right. You can see we headed south pre-market, but man, after the open, took off like a rocket ship. Very slight pullback here, basically got back to those highs. And then, nearly an ambush, 50% retracement on that spike down. You can see we did make new all-time highs over here on the daily. So looking good. We're still on the up and up. So you might remember on Friday, I was answering some questions for Eddie. He wrote back with some follow-ups. So let's see if we can get some of this stuff sorted. Now there's a bunch of questions in here and I don't like to make my videos too long. So I will make this short and we'll just start with this first part here. He says, thank you so much for taking the time to answer my question. And Eddie, it's no problem. And that goes for any of you. Just drop your questions down in the comment section if you have one. He says, let's say I'm on Trade-O-Vate and ready to enter a trade. I'm going long and my profit goes $5, 15, etc. And by looking at my candles indicators, I can see that it is about to flip to short. I click sell at this point. I just ended the first contract ? Well, okay, I don't use Trade-O-Vate, so I'm not entirely sure if this is how that works. What I would do is I would click close or flatten or something else, because if hitting sell does get you completely out of the trade and you're not in any position, then that's fine. But what I wouldn't want you to be doing, and again, I don't know this because I used Trade-O-Vate a few years ago, but I haven't used it since, so I don't remember. So if you hit sell and then it gets you into a short position, like that's not cool. That's basically like hitting the reverse button, which, as any trader knows, is kind of like crack cocaine, but can also be the most damaging thing in the world to your account. So as long as when you click sell, you're actually exiting the position, that's what you want to be doing, that's fine. And then, so if I wait for the right time and let's say enter again on the short, I'm now using the second contract. Okay, so the number of contracts that you can trade, it's only talking about at any given time. It's not consecutive, like this is the first one, this is the second one, etc. So if you're trading micros and you have up to 40 on that account size to trade, you can trade up to 40 at any given time. And then once you close all of those positions, you once again have 40 that you can trade. Now, again, I do not recommend trading 40 micros, but let's say you were trading two. So once you close the position on those two contracts, you're back at zero. Like it's not consecutive, you're not counting. It's just this is how many I can trade at any given time. The other thing that I do want to mention is this business about going short right after you got out of a long. The best, most conservative way to do it, now I don't always play it this way, but it is really helpful, especially if you're starting out, if you're newer to trading, is to stick with the dominant trend. How do you know what the dominant trend is? Well, you look at a higher time frame, like the daily time frame. We are clearly, very, very clearly still going higher. So the more conservative way to play it is to say, okay, well, I'm just going to stick to longs and I'm only going to take long signals. In this case, on the NASDAQ this morning, that would have served you very, very well. And then, if it starts pulling back, depending on where your stop is and depending on how closely you need to play it based on your trailing threshold, you could just wait for the next long signal and just go long. Again, that's a more conservative way to do it. I don't necessarily do it that way all the time, but when you're learning, I would recommend staying more conservative. So I'll touch base later this week with more answers to your other questions. As for now, heads up, Apex is still 80% off, so you can get some pretty sweet deals, and that's 80% off recurring. That goes through this Thursday. There's a link and coupon code down below, and from my perspective, I could not recommend it any more highly. If trader funding, well, I was going to say had been around, I should say if I knew about trader funding when I first started trading, that literally would have saved me tens of thousands of dollars of losses that first year. So it's kind of like training in a sandbox where it's very, very, very safe versus trying to train on an open battlefield in active combat. That's like trading your own account, especially at first. Apex gives you a safe space to learn, to grow, to develop your strategies, to see how everything works. and then to grow from there. There's a link and coupon code for you down below. I'm Mindie Kinnis. Thanks so much for watching.